Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to this tonight. It kind of shows that you're interested in what goes on in our community. Welcome to our candidates. We actually will be short one tonight, and that's Julie Cope can't be here. The rules for tonight are 2 minutes. As we ask the questions, they're 2 minutes long. To the candidates, I just wanted to inform you that I will be incorporating questions number 3 and 4 into one question. They just kind of flow together anyway, so I thought it was a good idea to put them together. And in question number 5, along with the items I'm asking about, there will be, or if you have any other specific programs that you have strong feelings about or that you're passionate about. So that might open things up a little bit more for you. Okay, I was thinking to myself tonight that you watch any news program, or if you look at any newspaper or news magazine, and you'll see what's going on around the world as far as the tragedy, the war, the suffering, I mean, all the unrest that's going on. And sometimes we say, you know what? Boy, there's just nothing we can do about it. But you know what? I think we can do something about it. And I think it starts right here at home. In our homes, in our communities, in our churches, in our schools. And of course, tonight we're here because we're going to listen to some folks that would like to be on the school board to help make the decisions to make our school a better place. A school that's going to influence our young people as they go into the world for the next umpteen years, and a school board that's going to make decisions that's going to influence what kind of a reputation we have as a school as far as people wanting to come into our community. It's pretty important stuff, and yes, I think it makes a big difference, and we can make a big difference starting right here tonight. So this could be a world-changing event tonight. I want everyone to know. All right. What we'll do is I'll ask the questions. I'll start down on the other end with the first question, and then the second question we'll rotate and we'll slip up to Val and let her go first, because it's always easier to answer a question after you've heard some of the other ideas, I think. Okay, the first question tonight is, what is your motivation to serve as a school board member of Rushford-Peterson's School Board of Education? And Pastor Fox, we will start with you, and please introduce yourself and then go ahead and answer the question.
I am the middle child of an older brother and a younger sister. My mother and dad were both raised on farms in rural communities. My mother was raised in a Swedish-speaking community. Her father was an immigrant from Sweden, Almholt, Sweden. My grandmother was from Kristiansand, Norway. She must have been a very gracious and godly lady, because my mother was, and she often referred to her mother and her church and her community as being very influential in her life. My dad only got an 8th grade education. He was from a German background out in Olivia, Minnesota, and I've got a minute to go. And Dad's father was a problem. He was alcoholic and he was abusive to his family. But Dad turned a corner. He did not follow that life. And when he met that Swedish girl who was a restaurant in Minneapolis, he knew that he had something good. I'm a little old. I think I've got seniority here tonight, but I'm not too rusty. I've done interim pastoral work up until just a few months ago, and I'm still open to continuing on. I've gotten the notice.
Yep, okay.
I am running not because I'm against the school or against what's happened. I'm here to be a positive part of the community.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Fox. It's not every day you get to cut off a pastor when he's talking, you know? All right, next, Val?
Amen.
Good evening. I'm Valerie Howe, and my motivation for running to serve on the school board is I've been on the school board for the last 4 years, and I've learned a lot. It's like going back to school again. You just don't realize the in and out of the education of running a school. And it's exciting to be part of our children's education. My daughter's in ninth grade, and I'm excited to be part of the children's education because they're our future leaders. I want to be part of the transition to the new school to make sure it's focused and run smoothly for the kids. And I would like to be part of the process of selecting a new superintendent if Mr. Ayler does not renew his contract. And this is a personal reason why I'm running, is I would be honored and looking forward to hand my daughter her diploma on the day of her graduation.
All right, thank you, Val. John?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm John Linder. I'm currently on the board right now. We have a good board that we've put together, and I'd like to continue to serve the community in that regard. It is a time in my life where I have an opportunity to do this. I've got a background in a number of different areas that would be helpful, I think, in the ongoing process that we have with our new school. And I want to be part of that. We have an exciting project going on everyone's familiar with, and that is something that the community should be very proud of. And I want to be part of that. I want to continue that transition and complete the building project. And I'd love to see everyone at the new school. It's going to be a great experience for our students and the community as a whole. It's just something that I've personally been very happy to be part of. And this is an opportunity for me to get involved. I still have children in school, and I want to be part of their education experience. We have a good administration and faculty, and this is something that we need to continue with, and I want to be as much of a part of that as I can, and I would appreciate the community support in making that happen.
All right, thank you very much, John. Bonnie?
Hello, I'm Bonnie Pinson, and I have not been on the school board before. I'm running for the first time, and my motivation to run is really twofold. First is just that I believe in giving back to my community. I really think everybody should take a turn at giving to their community or serving their community in whatever way they can. My father served on the school board in my town as I was growing up, and I always admired the seriousness with which he took that job and was inspired by him. My second reason is really that it is such an exciting time for this district. The big decision as to whether a new school was going to be built has been made, and there's a beautiful school building going up not too far from here. I think the big challenge now is going into the future, what kind of district are we going to be? There's an opportunity here, starting with a new building. You can start a lot of things, I think. It's the opportunity to look at everything and start fresh. So going into the future, I've had a chance to get to know a lot of the kids currently in K-12. I have 2 kids that have gone through school here, and through chaperoning trips, and I also occasionally sub when my school is not in session. I've gotten to know the kids, and I really like them. I think it's such a great group of kids here, and I would like to be part of what the district is going to do for them in the future.
All right, thank you, Bonnie. Speaking of nobler motives, we certainly are hearing them coming from these 4 candidates. All right, the next question, Val, we'll have you start this time. What skills and/or experience do you have that would assist you with overseeing district vision, curriculum, and finances? Example, strategic planning, reading and other programs, academic programs, and analyzing monthly financial reports, etc.
Like I said before, I've been on the board for 4 years, so I have a little experience there. I work for a nonprofit company in the accounting, so I know the finances of nonprofit, the school's nonprofit, how the money works and how it flows. I also been on different committees while I was on the board. I've been on the budget and finance, HVAD, teachers negotiation, technology, safety, transportation, and staff development, where I'm able to observe and ask questions how the school functions and runs. And I believe I'm a team player, and I respect each person, and I be a team player to work towards our children's education.
All right, thank you, Val. I'm sure this is on.
It's on, they just need to speak into it.
I think it's on, I just wasn't close
Okay,
enough.
okay. All right, John?
Well, as you know, I'm currently on the board, and as Val mentioned, when you're on a board or you serve on a number of committees, and I have served on a number of committees as well, and you do get the experience of how a school functions, how it's run, and the personnel issues. My background, I'm a retired attorney and a retired military officer. I've had lots of experience with budgets, fairly large budgets, supervising a staff of more than 10 people at times, and dealing with contract negotiations and the personnel issues that go with a large staff. So there are a lot of things that I bring to it. And the other thing, and this maybe is more important than anything, is I tend to be very patient and tolerant, and when you're on a board, you have to accept other person's opinions, and you have to respect their right to express that opinion. And that can be very difficult at times, and if you get frustrated with that, it can create some tension, and obviously tension doesn't go well at times, but you need to facilitate it so that everyone has an opportunity to express what it is that they feel is important. And you need to come together as a group to justify the decisions you make, and oftentimes that's difficult and can be somewhat unpopular, but you don't take these issues personally, and if you are patient and work yourself through these, you end up with a positive result in most cases, and I hope I can continue to do so.
All right, thank you, John. And Bonnie, you want to pull that over closer this
Yep.
time? There you go.
Mr. Tim said I wasn't loud enough.
No.
Get a little closer, okay. I hate to admit this, but 30 years ago, right now, this fall, I taught for the first time as a graduate teaching assistant at Mankato in the English department, and I've been teaching ever since, which is hard for me to believe that it's been that long. And I really think, I see a few teachers here tonight, I think teaching is the ultimate management experience, because over and over again, you're in charge of this group of people, and you have to keep so many things in your mind at the same time. And you always have to be thinking a few steps ahead and considering all kinds of variables. And so I am not ashamed to say that I think teaching is a wonderful experience for just learning how to manage and organize. In addition, before that, and even while I've been teaching, I've done a number of other things. And just to mention a few of them, I worked in radio advertising and marketing for 2 years when I first got out of college. Also, I've worked as a part-time journalist here in Rushford for the Fillmore County Journal. Right after the flood, I was assigned to cover the school board, the RP school board, and the city council, and I think I did that for 2 or 3 years, and man, did I learn a lot just being in on those meetings. I was amazed, and I think I became intrigued with what they were doing and the interesting issues and difficult issues that they had to face sometimes. Let's see, also I served for 2 years at my school at RCTC in the English department as the department chair, and in that role I had to deal with budgets and future planning and scheduling for 29 other faculty. So that was some positive experience, I think, for this. And wow, 20 seconds, okay. Also, really briefly, I'm currently in my second year of being the chair on the Rushford Community Foundation, which again, I have to deal with grant requests and budgeting and things like that. All right, I hit the alarm.
All right. Thank you, Bonnie. Very good. Pastor Fox?
Yes. I'm a product of the public school system, starting in kindergarten in Minneapolis through 12th grade at Roosevelt High School. I had 3 years at the U of Minnesota doing prerequisites for seminary, and I transferred to Augsburg for my 4th year of college. Following that, it was 4 years of seminary, and I had the good pleasure of internship in St. Cloud, Minnesota, where I was asked to teach classes at the reformatory. I also served full-time in the church there, of course. But I had a very, very good experience teaching those inmates. They were really good guys who took a wrong turn or two. I was the youth pastor out in Moscow, Idaho, where I was half-time in the church and half-time in my graduate studies at the doctoral level at the University of Minnesota, or of Idaho. I was the teaching assistant by invitation in the Department of Education and Counseling there. And so I've had some real opportunities. I got a master's degree from Winona State University in the field of counseling, which prompted me to go on to the doctoral level work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, now we'll go to the next question, and then we'll start with John. What do you think is the biggest challenge the district is currently facing, and what would be a positive step towards meeting that challenge?
Well, there are always a number of challenges when you run a school district. But what I see as a challenge coming up is the transition to the new school, which it's a big move. And we're going to be closing 2 facilities and getting them ready for alternative use. But more importantly, we're getting the new school ready for the use of our children for the next several generations, and hopefully for many years. And one of the things that we would need to do is make sure that this transition goes smoothly. And if any of you have ever moved, you know that can be a bit of a problem. in my career in the military, we moved a number of times, and it seems that each time you move, you learn different things. So, and things get lost and misplaced and things like that. But what it comes down to is, I think we would like to, what I would like to see with this transition is a committee established to make sure that we've got everything in place. You can't think of everything, so what we could do is have a committee that, transition committee with checklists that make sure we're covering everything, because there's going to be a number of issues, and I think you know, getting the community involved in that would be a very positive approach to getting the involvement of everyone, and I think it would be a good way to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. So I guess that'd be an issue I'd like to see the committee to do.
Okay, thank you, John. Bonnie?
I liked John's answer, and I agree with everything he said. I think I will answer this in a more general way. A challenge facing education now that I encounter a lot on the job is just the fact that technology has advanced so rapidly in recent decades. And I've seen this in education where I am, that new things come along and we tend to sometimes jump in before we've really made the decision, is this the right thing? And so a challenge I see in all education is just being sure that you're using the right technology for the right reasons, and looking at the data, looking at the research. Is it really going to be the best for kids? And is it going to achieve what we want to achieve? Some examples of that might be online classes, a lot of things that are taking place online, which I think can be tremendous and really help, especially in a rural district like this. But I think it has to always be done carefully and make sure that learning is still taking place and that the students benefit. I guess the other part of the question was, what are your views on things like early childhood education,
Well,
special
okay,
education?
let's jumping ahead a little bit. We're going to stay with those two questions, 3 and 4. So the challenge and the solution to the challenge.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
My question 4 is about early childhood education.
Oh, then you've got a different version than I do. What do you got? What's
It was
question
great.
4?
There, that's my 4.
Yeah, you said you were going to combine them, but actually they're separate.
They're separate because mine has 2 questions. Mine has what is the biggest challenge, and then what is the a step towards meeting the challenge. Number 5 is what your 4 is. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you guys were I didn't realize you guys were wrong. Okay, well, I think you did you get to where you wanted to on the 2 questions that I wanted you to answer, and that is what is the challenge and what is your solution to that challenge? As far, did you get to where you wanted to go on that?
46 seconds.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. Trying to take my seconds, Glenn. Well, I guess then the only part of that question that I hadn't answered would be the positive step toward meeting the challenge of technology and education. And I think the positive step is just always to go slow and look at the research and the data and not make decisions too quickly. You know, take your time and examine all angles. And I guess that would be my positive step. So
Okay.
I think that's question 3.
All right, well, thank you for hanging in on that. And to Val and Pastor Fox, then, do you understand? It's basically the one question that I'm asking right now is, what is the biggest challenge, and how would you go about trying to meet this challenge?
Well, I read the local newspapers, and from the letters to the editor, I'm quite aware of the difficult challenges that have faced the school board with the building program and the new school. I think one of the real challenges would be to create some goodwill in the community if there's any ill will still left. And at least in churches, if you put the kids on the program, boy, the parents all come to church to hear the kids. Or if you do as Tri-County does, put on a free pancake meal or something else to eat, boy, it looks like the whole county turns out. And if along with that extension of goodwill, a program then were presented that could try to bring people together, I think that could be helpful. We taught a Bible verse to our grandkids several years ago, and they still remember it. Be kind to each other, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you. I'm not suggesting that we put a preacher on the program and that he lays a guilt trip toward forgiveness, but the spirit of sharing and tenderness and forgiveness and not looking back so much as looking forward and putting our very best efforts in making our new school and our district as good as it has been and hopefully will continue to be.
Thank you very much, and good advice. I'm sure we all agree with you on that one. Val?
I also have transitioned to the new school to make it run smoothly. I like Mr. Linder's idea, doing a checklist. I believe the whole community needs to be involved. And I like Mr. Fox's idea to have pancakes, part of the way for the community to be involved. We need to be excited. Get the whole community involved and be excited for our new school and excited for our kids. They're the ones that are going in there and learning. Another challenge, I think, is, like I mentioned before, if Mr. Ayler does not renew his contract, is to hire a new superintendent. I believe that would be big shoes to fill. I think everybody, community, kids, parents, staff needs to be involved with that. And I agree with Bonnie, technology is another challenge, trying to keep up with that. I'm impressed by the teachers here. I don't want to say the young teachers, but they're really involved with technology, and I believe they'd be part of the solution to keep up on it. Special education is always a challenge for schools because of the cost and running programs. Mental illness is becoming part of the issues in schools. So we need to keep pushing forward, talking to our legislation to help the mental illness and special ed kids to be part of society.
All right, thank you, Val, and you've kind of segued into the next question, which Bonnie, you'll start. And this question now is number 5 on my list. It says, what are your views on early childhood education, special education, bullying, and discipline? And I've added, or any other specific programs that you feel strongly about or have strong feelings about or are passionate about.
Okay. Early childhood education, I haven't thought about a lot until I served on the new school design committee, and that was part of our plan, was making places for early childhood education in the new building. I know that the research shows that it is so important. So of course I'm a believer in early childhood education, because if we can do it, it really gives kids a head start. The other issue I remember that we talked about at the time was that it was possible that it was going to become mandatory, that the governor was going to make it mandatory for all districts to provide this. And I know a lot of districts were scared by that because it was going to be pretty expensive to implement into their buildings. And we were aware that we were in a unique position of building a new school, and we could actually, plan for the possibility of having space for early childhood education. I guess it's important to realize how valuable early childhood education is, but also to balance it with all the needs of the district and do the best we can with what we have and what we can spend on that. Special education, I strongly support special education because I strongly believe in the district's mission to do the best they can for all students, not just some students, but all students, to meet the needs of all students as best we can. And special education is one of the ways that we can do that. So I support that. As far as bullying and discipline, I don't have a lot of experience with that at the K-12 level. I guess overall my feeling is with discipline, if there are policies, then they need to be followed in as fair a manner as possible. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right, thank you, Bonnie. Pastor Fox, will you take the question next?
Yes. I am the product of a school psychologist at Julia Ward Elementary School on 38th Street and about 40th Avenue in Minneapolis. My dad was old school. He was determined that I, being a natural left-hander, would get with the real program of being right-handed. And so our evening meal was quite often, call it a battleground, to get this middle kid of his to use his right hand. He had me so uptight that when school started, I was stuttering and they were worried about me if I'd ever learned to read. So they talked to the school psychologist. Test this kid, find out what makes him tick. And they found out that I was normal. Aha! And the next thing you know, they brought my folks in for a conference. And Dad, believe it or not, decided to let the kid be what he is. And I even ended up at 4 state tournaments as a left-handed pitcher. I was at least a good average. With 20 seconds to go, I feel like the game is almost over and that the 9th inning is mine to walk off the mound as a winner. And I'm all for special ed. Helping these kids instead of putting them in a corner and making them feel like a dunce.
Okay.
All of these other things could even be summed up in that Bible verse I said.
Okay.
I don't want to suggest a panacea, but I
Thank you.
think practically speaking,
Thank you, Pastor Fox.
love always wins.
Thank you, Pastor Fox. All right. Val?
I believe we need bullying and discipline policies in school. I think Russia Peterson have pretty good programs. 5 Star is one in the middle school. Has a sheet they fill out every week if they have issues. Because this is part of workplace. I know at my job they have discipline policies and, harassment. So this needs to start early in elementary because it's in the workplace. They have to know good behavior and be respectful. I love special education. My son was in special education. We need to do more, I believe, in career readiness and how to implement them in class. I know a teacher, I see him here, Mr. what's your name again? Melsna, I'm sorry. He went to training on how to teach special education in history. And I was just elated to see that. I would love to see more of that. I also think special education students should be offered scholarships also if they go on to VOTEC training. Early childhood education is mandated by the government now. A lot of these schools are having referendums to add on because they do not have room for the early childhood education. I praise Rushford Peterson to have foresight, the staff and administration, past boards to implement this to us, for us.
All right, thank you, Val. John?
Yes, obviously, early childhood education and special education are important in any curriculum. I think Bonnie and Val alluded to the requirement that has come down. And the governor, as this is something that's going forward, and we are in a fortunate position where we are able to implement that with our new facility. A lot of the districts in the area are trying to get a bond passed this fall, and part of it will be to support this new mandate. And it's much more difficult to add on than it is to build initially. So I think we're very fortunate in that regard, and hopefully that'll be a program that'll go forward. It really is something that there is a need for. As far as bullying and discipline, that is a situation, obviously there needs to be discipline. We do have a policy for bullying, but I remember from my childhood in grade school, there was a kid that we would now call a bully, and back then there weren't the intervention programs, and at the time, you're very frustrated in dealing with this individual. But what I found out later, and as you grow older, his family, he had been abused at home. He had a very difficult situation at home, and that made things, made his life difficult, and he took it out on other students. So what I would like to see is more intervention for younger children that are in a situation like that, and allow them to get the help they need and be in a position that they can become productive students and adults. And it's something I think would be very helpful to, instead of just being a discipline situation, but trying to help the bully as well as the kids that are being picked on.
All right, thank you, John. All right, the final question is your opportunity if you want to share some other stuff or some other last thoughts. And then what we will do is we'll open it up to anyone who might have a question from the audience. So this would be, Pastor Fox, this will be your question to go. What do you feel are some strengths of the Rushford-Peterson School District? What would you do as a board member to ensure Rushford-Peterson Schools maintains these strengths and lives by its motto, always our best?
Well, I'm impressed with the football team, at least before last game. I'm also impressed with the basketball emphasis, with the long-term coaches we've had. But basically, a school is not an athletic program. It's a learning educational experience. And at least if what the papers have published is true of Rushford, I think we look pretty good, at least compared with area schools. At least the last report I read seemed to indicate that Rushford, at least in not necessarily every area, but certainly in many, was somewhat better score-wise than, say, Lanesboro or Lewiston or other schools. So I think we must be doing at least a decent job, and anything we can do to provide our kids with a good basic learning experience. Call it the reading, writing, and arithmetic skills that are part of the old song. But I would present myself not as an expert, not as somebody that comes on board if I'm even elected to be kind of the the instant answer to every problem that we have, but I think I have the maturity and the experience to give some pretty solid input, at least, as far as the betterment of our school district.
All right?
I appreciate having been on the program tonight. I certainly come away with a high regard and respect for the others who are also running. We
Okay,
hope the best persons are elected.
thank you very much. Okay, and you might have your opportunity more here if we get questions from the floor, so don't leave yet. Okay, Val?
What the strengths are of Rusher Peterson, I believe the first thing is the teachers. Like I said, I've been on all these committees and I'm impressed how the teachers think of ideas, innovation, to get our kids learning, to teach them. They really do care. I'm impressed that we got a jump start on the early childhood education, even before Governor Dayton did. They have programs now where they're starting in 6th grade, career readiness, what the kids would do after high school. They could get college credits. I think we're moving forward in technology. That's been really helpful and encouraging to see for our kids. And this year they developed a new program. It's called Silver Cord, where at graduation they can wear a silver cord. It's learning how to volunteer. I think that is very important. I think people need to do more of that. And as a board member, how I'm gonna keep this strength going, I want to be an advocate for our children's education, be part of the solution, not the problem. In the basic STAR program, be respectful, have appropriate behavior, teamwork, and positive attitude, and keep everybody safe.
All right, thank you, Val. John?
Yes, Pastor Fox alluded to the test scores in athletics, and obviously those are very positive things in our community, the Rushford-Peterson School District. And Belle talked about the community service, the kids, a new program we have, which is also very beneficial. And we also came up with a program that the administration suggested, was this Chromebook initiative, which allows all the students to be hooked into the Chromebook. And my understanding is working fairly well. Most of the students are taking part in it. We offered a number of different options for the kids to get involved, and with some different financial assistance from the school, so that was very positive. Another thing that's often overlooked is we have a very good cash reserve, which is, I don't know how that compares with other schools, frankly, but I think we're in a very good situation financially, which is always something good to hear as a taxpayer and a parent. So the other thing is we have a very good working relationship with students, parents, faculty, and administration. I see a lot of positive things happening, and parents are very willing to get involved with their students' education. I don't see a lot of kids that are getting into problems. I think we have a very good student, and the faculty has gotten to the point where they recognize these issues, and they bring it to the attention of parents. I get emails all the time of progress that your kids are making, and that's very good as a parent, and I think that's something that's very positive in our district, and I'm hoping to we can continue with that.
Good, thank you, John. Bonnie?
Okay, well, first I want to say, because I'm afraid I'll forget, that I am honored to be here tonight. I'm thankful for the invitation And sitting here with these people, I was really inspired by some of Pastor Fox's answers, especially about the needing healing in the community. And I have great respect for Val and John. I think they've done a wonderful job during a very difficult time. And so I thank all of them, and I'm honored to be sitting up here with them. As far as strengths in the school district, I think that I tried to think about what does this district have that others don't have? What did my niece and nephew in the Twin Cities not get because they weren't at Rushford Peterson? And I think the small size can be such an advantage. Both of my kids, I think, felt like they had personal relationships with a number of their teachers. In a smaller school, kids are individuals and they become known that way, and I think that's such an advantage. I also commend the district on what I see as a really important balance in a number of areas. Of course, we all love the sports tournaments, and it's pretty exciting, and I usually go up to the cities if any of our teams make it. But I think the district has done a good job balancing sports and academics. I don't think it's all for sports here and at the expense of academics. I think both have been important, and that's a hard balance to strike. Also, in the extracurricular activities, everyone gets excited about sports, but I remember I've come to the one-act play contest a couple of times and am so impressed with how many community members come to that and cheer on those kids. So I think there's a lot of support for non-athletic activities, kids that are in music and drama, and 20 seconds, and I know it said, I hope to offer a positive, calm presence if I am elected, and I hope to help everybody keep in mind our priority, which is the education of our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, I know, and I have to apologize for only 2 minutes. I realize that 2 minutes can seem so long when you're on a treadmill, but it can seem so short when you're up here having something to say. So now I tell you what, and this is kind of putting everybody on the spot, but if you have a question, please ask it. So maybe raise your hand and we can bring a mic up to you, and you can, or somebody can holler down the question. So at this time, I'll just open it up. You can ask a question of an individual or of the board members. The number one phobia in adults is public speaking. So this is a stretch, but I know you might not have been prepared for this, but if you have something, please bring it up at this time. It would be beneficial to all of us, I'm sure.
Maybe we covered it all.
You might have, yes, you might have. Yes, Ruth.
I don't have a question, I just want to make a comment that I truly admire all four of you. I think anyone would be a wonderful candidate, and your heart is always, I think, from what I see, your heart is in the right place, and that is the education of our students, and thank you for running.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. Yes,
I just
Joyce.
like to comment what Ruth said, and I think the questions were crafted well, and you all did a good job of expressing your opinions, and again, thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Anyone else? Okay, well, if there is no one else, then first of all, I guess I would like to thank these members, and you're right, you all have good qualifications, and you're very articulate, and I know that you would make good board members, and the best wishes to you, and I think we should give these folks a round of applause. I wish that we would have had more people here tonight. I wish that this could be televised throughout the community so everyone could have an opportunity to meet these folks, to see the kind of quality people that we have running for school board. I guess I would, speaking for the rest of the community, I'd like to just give you my appreciation, our appreciation for just doing this. I realize how much work it is and what a commitment it is, and also a lot of times not a lot of thanks from people. No matter what you do, someone doesn't agree with you. I also would like to share appreciation for the rest of the folks in the educational system. Our teachers, our non-certified staff, our administration. We have a good school system, and we owe it to those folks that are working here every day. And if you've never taught a class, try it sometimes. It's not that easy. All right, if that's all there is, anybody have any last minute thoughts here?
Go and vote.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Come out and vote. All right, well, thank you very much.